Captain Elias Kane stood on the observation deck of the starship Aurora, watching the Lumerian capital stretch beneath him. The city glowed with soft blue and silver lights flowing in patterns that seemed alive. He had traveled across half a dozen star systems to reach this place, sent as an envoy by the United Earth Council. His mission was simple in words but delicate in action. Establish trust with the Lumerians, a proud alien species known for their strict codes and cautious hearts. Elias adjusted the strap of his tactical vest. He was trained for combat, negotiation, and survival in hostile worlds. But diplomacy required patience he did not always feel. Focus, he muttered to himself. One wrong move, one disrespect, and it could end badly. The palace of Queen Valira rose at the heart of the city, shimmering like a crystal mountain. Its walls reflected the pale light of the twin moons, and the air buzzed faintly with energy shields and protective fields. Today was a ceremonial visit. Elias was to meet Princess Solara, the Queen's only daughter, and discuss potential alliances between Lumeria and Earth. Inside the palace, the air smelled of incense and ozone. Servants and guards moved gracefully, following unspoken rules of etiquette. Elias noticed the subtle gestures and tried to copy them, careful not to offend. At the center of the grand hall, Princess Solara waited. Her armor was ceremonial but elegant, silver with blue accents that matched her eyes. She smiled politely at Elias as he bowed. Before words could fully start, a sudden alarm rang through the palace. A section of the ceiling burst open, and a group of heavily armed mercenaries dropped down, moving with speed and precision. Plasma rifles glowed in their hands, and the sharp sound of energy discharged filled the hall. Panic erupted. Lumerian guards shouted orders in a language Elias did not know, rushing to intercept the attackers. But the attackers' aim was deadly, precise, and intended. Elias saw the threat instantly. Princess Solara froze for a brief second as a plasma bolt streaked toward her. Without hesitation, he lunged, pushing her aside and taking the full impact of the blast against his chest. The searing energy burned his vest, singed his hair, and slammed him into the marble floor. Pain shot through his body, but he gritted his teeth and shielded her with his own body. "Get down," he shouted, pulling Solara behind a massive column as more plasma bolts ricocheted around them. The princess's eyes were wide with shock and fear. "Why?" she managed to gasp. "Because no one should touch you," Elias replied grimly. He scanned the attackers, noting their positions and patterns. His training took over. He rolled, dodged a blast, and grabbed a fallen Lumerian guard's energy staff. With a single, precise strike, he disarmed one of the mercenaries, then used the staff to block another attack. Solara's heart raced. She had been trained in combat since childhood, yet she had never seen human reflexes up close. Elias moved differently, predictably unpredictable. Every action was calculated yet fluid. Her admiration grew with every second he fought to keep her alive. The palace guards began to regain control, forming a protective barrier around the princess. Elias continued to intercept attackers, buying precious moments for the Lumerians to secure the hall. Eventually, the mercenaries, realizing they were outnumbered, retreated through the broken ceiling. Energy bolts fizzled as the palace's defense systems closed. Silence fell over the hall. Smoke curled from the walls and the faint smell of ozone lingered. Elias stood chest-heaving and brushed ash from his vest. Princess Solara stepped forward, her expression a mixture of gratitude and amazement. You saved me," she said softly. Elias shook his head. "I didn't have a choice. No one should die in front of me if I can stop it." A group of guards approached. One of them, a tall Lumerian with silver armor etched in ceremonial patterns, nodded at Elias. "You fought well, human. Princess Solara owes you her life." Elias managed a tired smile. "I didn't do it for thanks." Solara looked at him with a quiet intensity. "Humans are brave. And strange," she said almost to herself. "You risked everything without thinking of yourself." Elias shrugged. "It's what we do." But even as the adrenaline faded, Elias felt the weight of the situation. Saving the princess might have won him her gratitude, but it also brought him under the strict scrutiny of Queen Valira. She was known to be a wise and fair ruler, but also cautious, sometimes overly so. Anyone who touched her daughter's life without her permission was a person of interest. Within minutes, court officials arrived to escort Elias to a secure room. "The Queen will see you immediately," one said. There was no anger in his voice, but the formality made Elias uneasy. He followed silently, aware that every step and gesture was being observed. In the private chamber, the walls shimmered with holographic maps and energy readings. Queen Valera entered, her presence commanding. Her eyes, sharp and calculating, studied Elias with an intensity that made his instincts hum. "Human," she said, her voice calm but firm. "You have acted in a way that is unexpected." Elias bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, my actions were to protect the princess. Nothing more." Valera's gaze did not soften. "Protecting her is expected. But humans are unpredictable. You could have brought more danger upon her, yet you chose to intervene." Elias met her gaze evenly. "I assess the situation, I act. That is what humans do." The queen paused, then inclined her head slightly. "Perhaps. But trust is not given lightly in Lumeria. You will remain here under observation until I am certain of your intentions." Elias understood immediately. He was not a guest. He was a visitor under scrutiny. Yet he felt no fear, only resolve. "I will comply, Your Majesty," he said calmly. "I only wish to help, nothing more." Solara, who had quietly entered behind her mother, placed a hand lightly on Elias's arm. "Please, mother," she said softly. "He saved my life. I trust him." Valera's eyes flicked to her daughter. The princess's trust in a human was rare and risky, but it showed the sincerity of Elias's actions. Yet the queen's caution was not easily swayed. "You will remain," the queen declared, "not as a prisoner, but as one under careful observation. Any false step and you will answer to me." Elias nodded, hiding the faint relief he felt. He had survived the attack, earned Solara's respect, and now faced the greatest challenge of all, earning the trust of her mother. As he was led to a guest room, Elias glanced at the princess. She smiled faintly, her eyes full of gratitude and curiosity. In that moment he realized that this mission would not just test his skills, it would test his heart, his mind, and his ability to navigate a world far different from his own. Outside, the palace shimmered under the twin moons, a fortress of light and tradition. Elias knew this was only the beginning. Dangers lurked beyond the walls, and trust was harder to earn than any battle he had faced. Yet he was ready, for he was human, and humans had a way of facing the impossible and surviving. Elias Kane sat on the edge of the soft silver couch in the guest chamber. The room overlooked the Lumerian gardens, where glowing plants swayed gently under the twin moons. Despite the peaceful view, Elias felt no comfort. The queen was not finished with him yet. A soft chime announced her arrival. The doors opened slowly and Queen Valera entered. Her presence filled the room, as if the light itself bowed to her will. She wore ceremonial robes of deep blue and silver. Every movement was precise, every glance measured. Elias rose to his feet immediately. "Sit," she commanded, her voice calm but sharp. Elias obeyed, noting how even her simple gestures carried authority. "You are brave," the queen began, "and perhaps foolish. Your actions today saved Princess Solara, yes, but they also exposed her to risk." Elias nodded. "Your Majesty, I assessed the threat and acted immediately. My intention was to protect her. I never considered anything else." Valera studied him. Her eyes were like polished crystals cutting through pretense. "Intentions are not enough. Actions have consequences. In Lumeria, every choice must be weighed against tradition, honor, and duty. You human acted outside our rules." "I understand," Elias replied evenly. "But if I had waited for permission, the princess could have been harmed or worse. I could not wait." The queen's gaze narrowed. "That may be so. Yet your interference brings questions. Why do humans take such risks? Why do you act without consulting those in command?" Elias leaned slightly forward. "Because humans believe in protecting those in danger. We do not ignore suffering if we can help. I did what I had to do." Valera paused, then inclined her head slowly. "Your answer is honest. But honesty alone does not earn trust in Lumeria. You will remain under careful observation. Every action, every word will be noted. You will follow our customs, learn our ways, and respect our rules. Only then will I consider your intentions as trustworthy." Elias's jaw tightened, but he remained calm. "I will comply, Your Majesty." The queen motioned, and the doors opened wider. Princess Solara entered, her silver and blue robes glinting under the light. She walked confidently to Elias, though she kept a respectful distance from her mother. "Please, mother," Solara said softly. "Captain Kane saved my life. He acted bravely and without selfishness. He deserves a chance to prove himself." Valera's gaze shifted from her daughter to Elias, then back to Solara. Her expression softened slightly, though caution remained. You speak in defense of a human. That is unusual, Princess. Solara's voice was firm. It is not unusual to recognize courage. Elias does. The palace of Lumeria was alive with whispers. Courtiers spoke softly in the halls. Guards stood taller at their posts, and the advisors of Queen Valera debated behind closed doors. The mercenary attack had shaken the city, and now everyone was watching the human guest more closely than ever. Captain Elias Kane felt the weight of those stares everywhere he went. He was escorted daily by 2 guards, both silent, both observant. Even when he sat in the gardens to breathe the cool night air, their eyes followed him. Elias did not complain. He understood suspicion. Trust was never given freely, especially in a place built on centuries of careful traditions. Princess Solara was the only one who showed him warmth. She visited often, bringing him scrolls and data tablets. If you are to stay here, she explained, you must understand our ways. My mother will test you. The court will test you. Even the servants will test you. Elias chuckled. So everyone is waiting for me to fail? Solara tilted her head, her silver blue eyes sharp. Not waiting, watching, it is our way. One who survives the test of eyes earns respect. And so Elias learned. He practiced the Lumerian bow until his back ached, learned how to eat with 3 slender utensils instead of 1, and memorized dozens of hand signals used in conversation. At first he stumbled. He picked up the wrong cup, used the wrong gesture, or stood when he should have knelt. Solara laughed softly at his mistakes but guided him patiently. You are stubborn, she told him one evening as they sparred with wooden training staffs, but you adapt faster than I expected. Elias grinned, blocking her swift strike. Humans don't like giving up. It's in our nature. Solara spun gracefully, her staff striking his shoulder lightly. Good. You will need that stubbornness here. The training ground was lit by glowing stones. Lumerian guards watched quietly, their expressions unreadable. They studied how Elias moved, how he fought, and how he respected the princess during combat. Every action mattered. Elias knew he was being judged not just for his strength but for his discipline. Days passed, and Elias slowly grew more comfortable. But just as he began to find rhythm in this strange world, danger struck again. It began with a flicker of light in the palace gardens. Elias noticed it while walking with Solara near the fountains. The air shimmered unnaturally, and the faint hum of cloaking technology reached his ears. His instincts screamed, "Solara, down!" He shouted, pushing her behind a stone pillar just as a bolt of plasma cut through the air. Figures emerged from the shimmering light. Assassins, dressed in dark armor, their weapons silent and deadly. They moved fast, aiming not for the princess this time but for Elias himself. He rolled to the side, grabbing a fallen guard's weapon. The staff hummed to life as he blocked another plasma bolt. His body burned with adrenaline, every sense sharp. 2 assassins rushed him at once. Elias ducked low, sweeping one off his feet, then slammed the staff into the second's chest. Solara stood, her training kicking in. She drew her ceremonial blade, the silver edges glowing. Together they fought back side by side. Elias's raw strength and quick instincts balanced Solara's precision and speed. Guards arrived, clashing with the attackers. The fight was fierce but brief. When it ended, the assassins were defeated, their cloaking devices shattered. Smoke curled into the night air. Elias lowered his staff, breathing hard. His vest was scorched again, and his hands trembled slightly. Solara stepped forward, her eyes wide. You saved me again, she said quietly. Then after a pause, no, you saved yourself. They were not only after me this time. Elias nodded. Someone doesn't like that I'm here. The guards quickly secured the area, and word reached the queen. Within an hour, Elias was summoned to her throne chamber. The hall was filled with advisors, nobles, and guards. Whispers echoed like wind through trees. Queen Valera sat high on her crystal throne, her face unreadable. Human, she said, her voice carrying through the hall. Twice now you have stood in battle within my walls. Twice you have survived where others might fall. Tell me, do you bring danger with you, or does danger simply follow where you walk? Elias stood tall, though every gaze felt like a blade against him. Your Majesty, I believe the danger comes from those who fear what I represent. Someone does not want peace between our people. They attack to create suspicion, to turn you against me. Murmurs rippled through the court. Some nodded, agreeing. Others narrowed their eyes, unconvinced. One advisor stepped forward, his robes shimmering with gold. Your Majesty, the human is clever. Too clever. What if he staged this? What if these so-called assassins were his allies, meant to win our sympathy? Elias's jaw tightened, but he remained calm. I risked my life to protect your daughter. Twice, if I wanted to manipulate you, I would not have burned for it. Solara stepped forward then, her voice clear and strong. Mother, I was there. I fought beside him. He risked himself without hesitation. He did not act for glory. He acted to protect. I trust him. The Queen's eyes flicked between her daughter and Elias. For a moment, silence hung heavy in the chamber. Then Valera raised her hand and the hall quieted. You speak well, human. You fight with strength. Yet trust is not built in one night nor in 2 battles. You remain under my watch. But know this. Every step you take draws you deeper into our court. Every mistake will carry heavier weight. Elias bowed deeply. I accept, Your Majesty. The Queen dismissed the court, but her gaze lingered on Elias as he left. There was suspicion still, but also something new. Curiosity. That night, Solara visited Elias in his chamber. Her expression was serious, but her eyes held warmth. You should know, Elias, my mother will never admit it openly, but she is beginning to respect you. Slowly. Elias leaned back against the wall, exhaustion in his bones. Respect is earned over time. I can wait. Solara smiled faintly. Then you may succeed. But be careful. Some in the court will never accept you. They see you as an outsider, a threat to tradition. The attacks may not be over. Elias nodded. Let them come. I've faced worse, and I'll keep standing no matter how many times they try. Solara studied him for a moment, then said softly, You are unlike anyone I've ever met. Elias met her gaze. I could say the same. Outside, the city was quiet, but unrest brewed in the shadows. Somewhere beyond the palace walls, enemies plotted. And within the palace, Elias knew the greatest challenge was yet to come. Not the blades of assassins, but the sharp judgment of the Queen herself. For now, though, he had survived again. And survival was something humans did best. The Palace of Xyrath was a shining fortress of crystal towers and glowing spires. From space, it looked like a jewel set in black velvet, but inside its walls, tension grew heavier with each passing hour. Darren walked through the long marble halls, always surrounded by guards. He was no prisoner in chains, yet he was not free either. Every time he asked to return home, the Queen gave a soft smile and refused. You are too valuable, she had said the night before. Your courage saved my daughter. The council insists you remain here. Darren did not like the sound of that word, council. He had heard whispers of it from the servants, who spoke of power struggles, ancient laws, and leaders from many worlds who all sought to guide or control the Xyrath Empire. Now, as he entered the great audience chamber, he saw them for himself. The Council of Xyrath sat in a half-circle around the throne. Each member wore robes of deep silver with glowing symbols that shifted like light across water. Their faces were stern, their voices sharp, and their eyes locked on Darren as if he were a rare creature in a cage. The Queen sat upon her crystal throne, the Princess Liara at her side. Liara glanced at Darren and gave him the smallest smile of encouragement. She knew how much he disliked being watched like this. The council leader, a tall figure named Malcor, rose to speak. His voice carried like thunder in the chamber. This human, Malcor said, arrived in our halls by chance. He protected the princess, yes. But does that make him trustworthy? Does that mean he belongs among us? Another counselor, a woman with silver eyes, leaned forward.
He is dangerous.
Look at him, his world breeds survivors of violent places. History says humans adapt too quickly, fight too fiercely. If we let him go, he may return with more of his kind. Darren frowned. He had never liked being spoken about as if he were not in the room. Still, he kept his hands steady at his sides and his gaze calm. The Queen lifted her hand for silence. You forget that without him, my daughter would not be standing here today. His instincts saved her life. Malcor bowed slightly but did not back down. And instincts can cut both ways, Your Majesty. We ask that he remain under our watch. For the safety of the Empire. Liara stood then, surprising everyone. Her voice, though young, carried a strength that silenced the hall. He is not a weapon. He is a person. If you truly believe in justice, then treat him with the honor he deserves. The Queen's eyes softened at her daughter's words, but she could see the unease among the counselors. To them, Darren was not a hero. He was a problem. After the council session ended, Darren was escorted back to his chamber. Liara caught up to him in the corridor. "I am sorry," she whispered. "They do not see you the way I do." Darren shook his head. "Don't apologize. Where I come from, people fear what they don't understand. Your council is no different." Liara lowered her voice. "They want to keep you here forever. Some even fear you will one day challenge their power." Darren gave a... The morning of the trial came with heavy skies over the shining towers of Zyrath. 2 suns rose, casting golden light across the palace, but to Darren, the day felt colder than any he had known. He was summoned by guards in silver armor, their faces hidden behind mirrored visors. "Come with us, human," one of them said. "The council awaits." Darren followed without resistance, though every step echoed with unease. He had faced battles before, but this was different. Here, weapons could not save him. Words, decisions, and unseen politics would decide his fate. When the great chamber doors opened, the sight inside was even more overwhelming than before. The council sat in their half-circle, glowing robes flowing like liquid metal. The queen was on her throne, regal and calm, while Liara stood by her side, her face tense with worry. Malcor, the council leader, rose first. "Human," he said in his booming voice, "today we test your loyalty. You stand as a guest of the Empire, yet your presence stirs unrest. To calm these storms, you must take the oath of binding." A ripple of whispers filled the chamber. Darren had already heard of this from Liara. The oath was no small vow. It would bind him to serve the Empire, his will tied by sacred law. If he agreed, he would never be free again. The queen's eyes flickered toward him, gentle yet unreadable. She was torn, Darren could see it. She did not wish to force him, but she also could not oppose the council openly. Malcor stepped closer, holding out a crystal staff that glowed with living light. "Kneel and swear your loyalty. Serve the Empire and you will be honored. Refuse and we must judge you as a threat." Silence fell. Every pair of eyes was fixed on him. Darren felt Liara's gaze most of all. She whispered softly, almost too low for anyone to hear. "Be careful." Darren straightened his back. "I cannot take your oath," he said firmly. His voice echoed in the chamber, clear and steady. "I came here by accident. I saved the princess because it was right, but I am not your servant and I will not be bound." The words struck like thunder. Gasps rose among the council. Malcor's eyes narrowed, his face like stone. "Then you admit your defiance," he growled. "I admit my freedom," Darren answered, unshaken. "I don't seek to harm your people, but I won't let anyone chain me." The queen rose slowly, her voice calm yet strong. "Enough, the human speaks truth. He has shown no malice, only courage. We cannot punish one who acts from honor." But Malcor pressed harder. "With respect, your majesty, honor is not enough. His refusal proves he does not stand with us. Without the oath, he is unpredictable, dangerous. I call for the trial of loyalty." The chamber stirred again. Darren frowned. "What kind of trial?" he asked. Malcor's lips curled faintly. "A test of strength, of courage, of heart. If you survive, perhaps you are worthy of freedom. If not, then destiny has spoken." The queen hesitated, but the other counselors nodded. Their fear of him outweighed their mercy. Finally, she gave a quiet order. "Prepare the trial." Hours later, Darren stood in the great arena beneath the palace. The ground was made of black stone, the walls high and carved with glowing runes. Thousands of citizens filled the seats, eager to witness the trial. To them, this was not only justice, but also spectacle. Liara was there, hidden behind her mother's guard, her face pale with fear. She knew the trial was dangerous. It was designed not for fairness, but for survival against impossible odds. The gates opened. From the shadows, 3 creatures emerged, massive beasts with armored hides and burning red eyes. Their claws scraped the stone and their roars shook the air. Darren tightened his grip on the simple blade they had given him. He had no armor, no shield, only his instincts. The crowd cheered as the beasts circled. The first beast lunged. Darren rolled aside, the claws missing by inches. He slashed at its leg, drawing a spark from its tough hide. The creature roared in rage, but Darren was already moving. He did not fight with brute force, he fought with speed, with thought. The second beast charged. Darren waited until the last moment, then leapt aside, letting it crash into the first. Dust and sparks filled the air. The crowd gasped. "Impressive," Malcor muttered from above, though his eyes remained cold. Darren's chest burned with effort, but his mind was clear. Every battle he had ever fought on Earth had taught him one lesson. Survival was not about strength alone. It was about using every weakness, every chance. When the third beast attacked, Darren climbed onto its back, gripping the ridges of its armor. With a quick strike, he drove the blade into the joint of its neck. The creature roared, staggered, then fell. The arena thundered with shock. The other two beasts snarled, circling him again, but their movements were slower now. Darren faced them head-on, refusing to back away. Minutes felt like hours, but at last the second beast collapsed from its own wounds, and the first limped away, defeated. Darren stood alone in the arena, his body bruised, his blade broken, but his spirit unshaken. The crowd erupted in cheers. Even those who had feared him could not deny what they had seen. Courage beyond measure. Liara pressed her hands to her mouth, relief flooding her face. The queen's eyes glowed with pride, though she hid it well. Malcor, however, looked displeased. His plan had not broken the human. Instead, it had made him stronger in the eyes of the people. Darren raised his head toward the council seats. "I have faced your trial," he said, voice rough but steady. "Does this prove I am not your enemy?" The queen answered first. "Yes. You have shown the heart of a warrior and the honor of a protector. You have earned your place among us." But Malcor only folded his arms. His voice was low, cold, and filled with warning. "Perhaps. But know this. Freedom here is never truly free. Remember that, human." Darren met his gaze without flinching. He had survived the trial, but he knew the struggle was not over. Somewhere deep inside, he felt the shadow of a greater conflict rising. And though he longed for home, one thought kept him rooted. Liara, her trust, her faith, her quiet strength. Those mattered more than any chain or throne. The arena was still echoing with cheers when Darren returned to the palace. His body was tired, his arm bruised, yet his spirit burned with a strange fire. He had survived the trial of loyalty, but in his heart he knew the fight was far from over. That night the palace halls were strangely quiet. Guards moved with tense steps, servants whispered to each other, and the queen's council chamber glowed with light even at late hours. Something was stirring behind closed doors. Liara found Darren in his chamber, sitting near the balcony where the twin moons rose over the Silver City. Her eyes were filled with relief but also fear. "You were incredible today," she said softly. "The people are speaking of you as if you are a legend already. But the council, they are not pleased." Darren looked out at the stars. I could see it in Malcor's face. He wanted me to fail. Instead, I gave them a show they can't ignore. Liara lowered her voice. "They will not stop, Darren. My mother protects you, but Malcor and his allies are planning something." I overheard their whispers. "They intend to use you as a weapon, parade you as proof that the Empire can control even humans." Darren frowned. "So the trial was never about loyalty? It was about turning me into a symbol." Liara nodded. "Yes, if you stay, they will claim your courage as their own. If you resist, they will call you a danger. Either way, they win." Before Darren could reply, a sound stirred in the shadows. A cloaked figure stepped forward, the same one he had met on his balcony days ago. The glowing blue markings on the stranger's skin gave him away. "You are out of time, human," the resistance member said. "The council will move against you soon. Come with us tonight and you will have your freedom." Liara tensed. "The resistance? You risk your life walking in here." The figure bowed slightly. "We risk it because the human matters." His defiance today lit a fire among the people. They see him as hope, not chains. If he stays, the council will twist that hope into fear. But if he escapes, he may become something greater. Darren stood, conflicted. Freedom was so close, yet it meant leaving behind everything and everyone he had come to care for. His eyes turned to Liara. "You want me to run?" he asked. Liara's lips trembled. "I want you safe, but—" She hesitated, her hands clenching. "If you leave, who will protect us from Malcor? My mother's power is strong, but the council grows bolder. With you gone, they may even try to take her throne." The resistance member shook his head. "Your mother's throne is already in danger. The human cannot stop what is coming alone. He must go, spread word of the council's corruption. Let the galaxy see them for what they are." Silence fell heavy in the chamber. Darren's heart pulled in two directions. One toward freedom, toward Earth, his own people, the life he had lost. The other toward Liara and the Queen, toward duty, trust, and bonds he had never expected to form. Finally he spoke. "If I leave, I betray the people who trusted me. If I stay, I risk becoming a prisoner forever. Neither path is easy." Liara stepped closer, her eyes shining. "Then choose the one your heart believes in." The decision came sooner than he expected. The palace alarms rang suddenly, bright lights flashing across the crystal halls. Guards shouted as doors opened and closed in chaos. Malcor and his allies had moved at last. A squad of soldiers stormed toward Darren's chamber, their weapons glowing with energy. "There he is," one shouted. "The human belongs to the council now. Take him!" Darren's instincts flared. He grabbed Liara's hand and pulled her behind him. The assistance member drew a small device, pressing